I played 100 hours of Aruni, and here's what I learned. First things first, you need to be playing her like almost every single game. At the end of this video, this might be a hot take, but I'm going to explain why I think she's the best defender in the game. She's a stable layer of defense when it comes to leveling up your setup. You can anchor or you can roam, and that makes her the perfect setup for roaming and solo queuing. I'm going to be going over 4 things that I think is very important to learning and mastering Aruni and how to master her potential to win you more games. So coming out at number 4, we have her gadget, which are the SURYA laser gates. So basically, if you don't know what Aruni is, she basically just makes a kind of a fake barricade. The enemies have to throw any kind of projectile to get through it. That's the basics of her. Everybody kind of already knows this. And if defenders get close up, it deactivates so that way it can walk through. But it also, if you want to throw things past it, defenders can also destroy the gate. So one thing you can do is stand really close to it and then have your own mind throw an impact wherever you need to across it. But attackers will take, I believe it's 30 or 40 damage if you walk just straight through it. So sometimes if you're in a tough situation, you have to walk through it. But her gate should be mainly used as information or utility burn. So that way you don't want to just put them on a random doorway in sight. So you have 3 of them. So in my opinion, you should pick 3 of the most common entrances. Where do people throw a lot of stuff at? For example, we know everybody likes to go on this window. So this basically kind of allows it. So, hey, if you're going to come here, then you have to go burn the gate and go through it. For another example, people like to come through this door right here to get in the site. And then the last one, we all know terrace is a very common spot. So look, I have instantly made our defense a little bit easier, more information, and it's just a little bit easier to tell where they're coming in from. So once you kind of have in your head that, okay, they should be mainly used as kind of like, a barbed wire or any kind of information that enemies at this door, they have to make sound in case they want to go through it. So if they're used for information and utility burn, we want to put them in the most common spots. If you want to learn some good Aruni gates, you can either just see what they look like in ranked, or you can watch some Pro League. Pro League really uses Azami a lot, or Aruni, and then you can really see like what are some popular gates on certain bomb sites on maps. I think a very important placement of the Aruni gate as well is making sure you can reset it. So like, for example, this gate right here, if it ever gets burned, everybody in sight has a line of sight to shoot it to reset it. It takes about 30 or I think it's 30 seconds to reset a gate every time. So if a gate gets burned, be sure to reset these as much as possible safely, obviously, because nothing is worse when you use like a Gon 6 to burn it and it comes right back and you have to use more utility on attack. Next up, coming at number 3 is maximizing her loadout. In my opinion, I think she has the Roni or this DMR. The Roni is okay. I think that's more if you're kind of a headshot person. You can really land those headshots because it's only 15 bullets. But versus her DMR, the DMR, in my opinion, is way outclass it. You have more bullets. You have a 1.5 scope, which a lot of defenders don't really have on defense. 1.5 really makes a defender popular just because, that zoom in optic is very powerful. But the DMR also has a crap ton of damage. It can take enemies down in 2 to 3 hits to the body, obviously 1 to the head. So in my opinion, if you're a Aruni player, I recommend you put the flash hider on, angle grip, and the 1.5. This is my personal setup, and this is what there's little to no recoil. Very, very easy and fun to use. So now that you have your weapon loadout, you always want to bring bulletproof camera on her, or besides the barbed wire. Barbed wire is okay, but 90% of the time you want to communicate with your team, I have the bulletproof cam. So this is what makes her super good, is that Aruni is maximized in every trait possible as a defender. So let's use the bulletproof camera. Let's say, okay, well, I already have my gaze in all 3 of these areas. What's a common place to look at? That is pretty it's high risk to take a look at with your life. For example, what I mean by that is what's an area you can get information on, like the breach. You don't always want to be holding angle in the breach or you'll get drone and pre-fired. Instead, pull a bulletproof camera here, or if they come terrace a lot, put a bulletproof camera. But you want to be careful because you don't want to put the bulletproof camera in a spot where it can easily get shot from the side. That's how you destroy them. So be careful where you put that. But remember, bulletproof cameras, if you guys are kind of new to the game, you can actually move them. Back then, you weren't able to move them, but they're kind of like a Val cam now. You can move around with it. You can EMP shock someone too. But even if you're dead or you have dead teammates, they can call off your bulletproof cameras and maximize your information across sight. And the DMR isn't only just good for killing, it's good for also making lines of sight, as you can see right here. Easily penetrate through stuff. I have 21 bullets too. I can last a long time. So I highly recommend you put the DMR on defense and you can really find yourself getting a lot of kills. Moving on to number 2 is your positioning throughout the round. So before you pick Aruni, you kind of want to decide if you're going to be roaming or anchoring. The thing that's great about Aruni is that you can do both just as good comfortably. Like for example, on like Caveira. Caveira is best on roaming, but she's not very good in sight, but it's kind of the opposite for Aruni. Aruni can work both ways. So if you're going to roam with Aruni, I would recommend you don't go further than about like 2 to 3 rooms away from the site, because at the same time, it's not like you have like your Mozzie where you have information denial, but you should be able to collect a lot of drones. You should be able to, you know, make little lines of sight, kind of getting things open, and you want to slowly to start fading away back into your gates. Like your starting position should be a little bit further away from your gates depending on where you're roaming, and then eventually as time goes on, you want to kind of, you know, retreat back to site, be inside the gates as well. A general roaming rule, you kind of want to give up your ground off site at a minute 30. A minute 30 is when defenders have a lot limited time. It's about halfway through the clock. So kind of keep that in the back of your head. Another important thing about positioning throughout the round is Aruni can really be that playmaker for your team. For example, if you're in a 3v3 scenario, what I mean by being the playmaker is that let's say it's you, a Smoke, and a Cade. There's about 45 to a minute left of the round. So Cade is too slow. He's an old man. He has to stay in sight, use a C4 for plants. Smoke as well, you know, he's got to use canisters and get close up. But for, let's say for you are able to kind of maneuver out of sight. You can flank, you can make holes like this and then catch an enemy off guard. But versus other operators, you know, you don't have this luxury of the element of surprise of this fist. So recognize if you need to flank, you're a 2 speed, 2 armor, you have enough speed to go throughout the map. And the thing is, you have great weapons to do that with. It's not like you're using, you know, Castle's ump. You actually have a weapon you can make plays with, get triple kills, double kills, or just getting that 1 kill that would change the round. So when you're a Aruni, you have one of the best weapons on defense. You're one of the best operators in the game for a reason. Don't be afraid to make that big play for your team that can win. But with game sense and playing over time, you will recognize when those plays need to be made. And one more thing about Aruni is that your positioning can be almost anywhere, because with these your fist will make lines of sight. You're able to, you know, take those longer engaged gunfights versus the SMG-11. You're not going to be wanting to take a gunfight like all the way down here sometimes, you know? So this moves on finally to the last most important part of Aruni, is her melee feature. No other operator in the entire game has this feature, to be able to use her punching feature on making unlimited amount of large holes. This is basically like, you guys remember when Mozzie used to have the super shorty? People were so to them when that was taken away, but Aruni has the super shorty. In fact, it's unlimited. Remember the super shorty, the reload after like every 2 bullets. Look how like you're able to do so much with Aruni off-site and in-site. So first off, right off the bat, you want to make rotates for your team or any lines of sight, just like a Smoke would in the beginning of the round. So let's say, you know, you need to make a rotate between sites, or you need to make head holes, you know, just because head holes between sight to get more look on the breach. But in the beginning of the round, since she can help out with basic setups, I wouldn't recommend you reinforce a lot for your team. I would pick up maybe like 2 to 4 walls max. But if you don't have a shotgun in your team, you're definitely going to have to go to work by just punching whatever. And since her fist is literally unlimited, which is the best part. This is why I think Aruni is probably the best defender in the game, as well as because her fist just maximizes that time and efficiency. Like if you think about it, even Alibi, I mean, sometimes Alibi, I think what makes her really similar to Aruni is having that bailiff and a quick rotate versus having to bring a Smoke or a Mute just to make setup in sight, or, you know, running impacts on a certain operator sometimes can be, there's not a lot of freedom when it comes to having to bring a site setup. But Aruni can be that fragger while also helping out in sight and all that. So it maximizes your efficient lineups and also your time. You don't have to bring a shotgun out, reload it, do all this stuff. You just keep your main weapon out while also punching. It takes very little time on and away from the crosshair. So we've gone over 4 important things what I think makes her so important after playing many hours with her. I played her in tournaments. I've played her in high level ranked. So remember, review it one more time. Want to make sure you're understanding how to place your gates properly. The next thing is maximizing her loadout. Pick a gun you're comfortable with and stick to it. Also, you know, understand the ranges and boundaries of your weapons. You know, there's literally almost none. The second thing is realize your positioning throughout the round, the freedom of your positioning with your lines of sights. And the last thing is use your fist as much as you can, because the more sights lines of sight you can make for your team, the less time they will have to set up and you have more time to go roam. So a lot of things I said comes down to the final question is why I think Aruni is the best operator on defense. It's because in 5 stacking, you know, like I said, you have the bulletproof camera or information, you have her gates as a primary source, you set them, they're good throughout the whole round, versus maybe like an Ash Charge. You know, Ash Charge you use one time with the entire round. Then next up you have your fist, you have a really good gun, a really good secondary pistol, and she's a 2 armor 2 speed. Like, you cannot go wrong with Aruni. I think there's little to no weakness with Aruni. The only thing I would say is there's no plant denial, but you know, sometimes you don't need plant denial if you're just killing everyone, and other operators can fill that. But she maximizes every single trait on her loadout. I know. I think she's one of the most balanced operators too. It's not like Finka. Finka, she like has every good trait, but she needs to be nerfed obviously because she's so strong. I think Aruni doesn't need to be nerfed. I think she's balanced. I think she's still easy to kill. It's just she just maximizes her traits as a character. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think, if you think Aruni is one of the best characters, or if I missed anything, any cool Aruni traits you guys want to tell me in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys buy Aruni too. She is one of my favorite, probably my favorite operator in the game right now. I appreciate it if you guys would leave a like and subscribe to this video and channel if you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what operator you guys would like to see 100 hours next on. I'll see you guys in the next video.